Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity Podcast, episode 196. Now, we are joined today by a returning guest who I'll introduce you to in a minute. First of all, I will catch up with Mr. Peter Lant and see how he is doing. And then I will introduce our guest for today and also give you information about, if you didn't listen to the first episode we did together, how to go back and listen to that, because that would probably be a good thing. But anyway, Mr. Peter Lant, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks. I'm doing extremely well. I was going to say, because we were meant to record last week and we didn't, and like I had loads of stuff to talk about last week because loads went on at your gym, didn't it? And there was strongman competition, and there was
the Tactical Strength Challenge as well.
Challenge and High Rocks. A couple of your guys did High Rocks, didn't they? And what have you.
So and Lauren was over in Denmark as well.
Lauren was in Denmark, which is where our guest was and all that. And then I also had my online client, Jed, got his Strong First Elite as well. So I had loads to talk about, and there was no one here, but now we've got a guest on. So anyway, we can't talk about it. But just shout out for Jed. Well done. Because he's been chasing that for it since the SFL in November or whenever it was. And he got his bench. He had to do 102.5 on the bench. And he was like, his PB was 90. His one rep max was 90 before that. So so he got it. He nailed it.
Will I be seeing Jed this weekend? Is he going
to be seeing Jed this weekend? I'll see as well. Yeah, the Jed the legend.
Yeah, I'll see Jed this weekend. No,
everyone says that. I posted about him getting it, and I posted something a couple of weeks ago as well about him, doing a certain amount of reps with it, more than 100% of his previous one rep max and all that. And everyone just comments on it. It's like, oh, Jed's a legend.
No, he's fantastic. And then also what we will discuss another time, not today in depth, but what I would like to do, I've had some suggestions actually from members of the gym. We do this walking weekend every year. And this year we're in Norfolk, but some of them came up with the idea, which I think is great, that next year in June, we're going to come to Bath.
Yes.
And we'll do the Unique Results walking weekend in Bath, and we'll join you for the walk Bath on the Saturday. And if we do like a lot, I don't know how long you normally do, but we might be able to do a longer one, or you might be able to arrange something for us for that day. Or
I can do whatever you like. There's a 20 miler, I know, but if you don't want to do 20 miles, we can do anything from like no miles up to 20. Easy.
Yeah, it'll probably be around sort of like 12 miles, 13 miles would be perfect.
Oh, I can do that, no problem.
Yeah, brilliant, cool. We've got a whole year to sort it out, but that'd be great. Right, so we are joined today by Oli Mell. How are you doing, Oli? You all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. How are you guys?
Very, very good, thank you. Yeah, very good. So Oli was last with us we just spoke about it. I think we recorded last time about 8 months ago. And the episode that Oli was on before was episode 165, which was called Wolfpack Fitness. And we went into kind of, I suppose, Oli's origin story, and we learned all about his past and his kind of career, bringing him up to where he is now. So I would probably recommend, if you've not listened to episode 165 called Wolfpack Fitness, to go back and listen to that one, because we're not going to kind of recover old ground on this one. We're going to this is more of an update kind of episode where we're going to be talking with Oli about what he's doing now, what he's been doing recently in the last kind of 8 months, and what he's got coming up. And as we kind of mentioned last weekend at the time of recording, Oli was over in Denmark, which is where Lauren Emery was as well, and a lot of other people representing England in a Kettlebell Sport World Championship. So yeah, we're catching up with Oli today, and he's got some interesting stuff to talk about. And I mean, we're going to go into it, but I know you had a lot on your plate in Denmark for that weekend, didn't you? I think you had four different events kind of entered. So yeah, Oli, where do we start? I mean, it was kind of, like I say, 7-8 months ago when we spoke to you last. What's been going on?
God, yeah. There's been 2 world championships since we last spoke, because I think we were more talking about prepping for the marathon and then the super marathon and the pentathlon, which was in Hungary. And then we had qualifiers again where Lauren was in Northampton for April, to then go through for the Denmark competition for the IKMF. So for those that don't know, the IKMF has got substantially bigger as a company now. And in used to the kettlebell format, used to be you'd have the European Championships and in spring, and then you'd have a World Championships like later on in the year. And they've decided to change that format now and just split the World Championships into a part 1 and a part 2. So there's various lifts you can do in the November competition, really pentathlon and marathons, and that's a pretty big one because it's really the only place you can do a kettlebell pentathlon at an international stage. And then you've got the half marathons. There's a new thing called double pent, which is taking off, but it needs a bit of time to sort itself out and kind of really work out a few things of it. And then there's obviously like the World Games, which is the 40 kilogram bells for the guys and the 28 kilogram for the girls. So that's what I've just come back from. Both the last competition's been great. I've been kind of quite vocal on social media and in my gym with my friends about saying how this is kind of me getting towards the end of training and getting towards the end of competing. Being 40, turning 41, with the weights that I'm lifting at the moment, my body's certainly starting to feel it, and I'm definitely kind of at a part in my life now where I'm happy pushing myself the way I'm pushing myself, knowing that the end's in sight. And it's kind of made me think a little bit different now. Like a few years ago, it was all about getting the gold medals, and once you've got a certain amount of them, oh, my dog's just starting to pipe up now. She'll do this every time. Yeah. She's only allowed to bark if the bailiffs come round, so she'll have to be quiet for this one. So it's kind of different now. So I'm really enjoying the England team. I'm really enjoying the success they're having. I'm still hungry for the belt, and I'm still, you don't go to a competition not wanting to win, but I'm just enjoying it in a much different sort of frame of mind. Knowing that this is probably after we can go into how the set went, but it was going to be my last time going to that World Games Championships and half marathon championships. I'm not 100% happy with some of the results, so I think I've got a few things like for my benefit to kind of go back and finish off before I'll call it a day. But I'm prepping now for going to Poland in about 3 weeks' time for the WKSF. World Champs, but I'm in a bigger weight group for it, so I get to bulk, which is something that you said we can talk about how I do that, how much fun it is compared to cutting. And yes, apart from that, it's just been surviving a winter as an outdoor business owner of an outdoor gym, and surviving a very, very brutal winter.
I was going to say, it's not. I'll do the same. And it's not been a good winter for that. It's been a wet one, hasn't it?
We just didn't have a spring. We just went from icy rain, really, from October through to May, and then all of a sudden the sun's come out.
What type of dog have you got?
It's a Labrador, but she's decided she's going to bark now. She's going to curl back in and go to bed. She's been at the gym with me earlier on, so I've tied her out. So
no, just because I've got a working Cocker Spaniel, and he's probably had one day in his life when he's not been for a walk because maybe he's ill or something like that. He's had 4 this year. I'm not going out in that.
I think she's in the videos on Facebook that I do as much as I am, because she just lives at the gym, and it's a good setup for her so she can go and wander. It's enclosed, so she can't get out, but she's got enough space to just kind of like nosy about, and then she'll come and pot around and see what I'm doing, and then chase some birds and go sort of please herself for about 3 or 4 hours. So she's curled up in a little donut now. She should be nicely asleep.
And also, I was going to say, Oli, we've also got you to thank for introducing us to Elisha, who we had on a few weeks back as well, who was fantastic, lovely guy to meet and to talk.
He was, I can't 100% take the credit for that. There's a guy, and a big shout out to Alistair Lee, who I don't know if you met him. So he's the captain of our kettlebell team, and he's done phenomenally well. But he's also just one of those really like rare people that just loves to kind of meet people and find out cool things and try cool things. So I don't know how Al connected with Elisha, but I know that I don't know if he spoke about how he reached out to the gym. So I think however they found each other, Elisha just pretty much flat out asked Al if he would help do things with the British Kettlebell Juggling Association, and Al just straight away introduced him to me. And we had a few phone calls and a few chats and stuff, and I started following him and I started seeing the juggling. And I don't know, like, I don't know how far back you guys go in kettlebells, but I can certainly remember the first workouts that we would do with like Jason Kent and Paul Connor, and people be trying stuff out. But I can remember juggling being a part of kettlebell training way back. Even just that one hand flip where your one hand does that spin to catch, and we used to do a lot of partner things where you'd swing the bell to your partner, catch it with a flip. So like elements of kettlebell juggling I've kind of known about for a while. I think anything to do with the sport that takes it and puts a bit of a twist on it and a stamp on it is a really cool idea for me. So when we saw him down in Northampton, instantly I kind of thought, wow, this does something that kettlebell sports doesn't do, in that it's got a huge crowd spectator wow factor. You can really get a crowd going and cheering and clapping, and it's not like, as much as I love the sport, I do appreciate that from an outside view, you're watching somebody anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour lifting something over their head. So, it's not the most captivating. Like, if you've got like, there are some real good battles at the last two world champs we've been on, that really captivate you. If you know how close the fight is, then yeah, it can be a bit of a nail biter. But to the average eye, by comparison, what Elisha does and what Maxine Morris is doing as well, if you see her now, she's taken to it as well, and she's juggling. She was in her downtime in Denmark next to us in the campsite. She was juggling her 8 kilogram. So yeah, he was a great guy, and that got me going back and listening. So I listened to the podcast, and that got me going back and listening to a couple of the episodes that I haven't listened to. So I've listened to recently Hannah Camden's episode.
Yeah.
That was really, I found that really interesting, really like open and honest about her struggles and things like that. So that was a really interesting episode to watch.
Yeah.
I recommend that to quite a lot of people, actually. And also Paul McCoy. Was it Paul McCoy? Paul
McElroy.
Paul McElroy. Yeah. I really enjoyed. So I was working away down in I'm gonna say Kent. Yeah, I was working away in Kent. And I, like, while I drive, I'll try and listen to podcasts and catch up on all the ones that I've missed. So I listened to both episodes of his, and I'd love to get the opportunity to do some work with him and train with him. He sounds like a really intelligent guy, like with a bit of a character as well. It's quite funny to listen to. And he had some great insights. So one thing he said that I took to heart was that phrase he said, "The rising tide raises all ships." And that's an interesting thing, as I like to explore that concept. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. So I mean,
we had an interesting one when we were with James and Dan at James's, not James, Tim and Dan, Tim Anderson at James's place. We're getting James's car, and the podcast was on with the Tim Anderson episode while Tim was sitting in the car, and he was like, "That's my voice. What's going on?"
Yeah. Does he hate to sound? Did he hate? Do you hate? I mean, I don't know how many ones of these you kind of see or do, but I still kind of like I struggle to listen to myself on podcasts and things. I don't like it. I kind of shy away from hearing my own voice back on a playback. I don't know what Tim was like.
Yeah, I think because we're nearly 200 episodes in now, and I do listen.
Yeah.
I do listen to every week when it comes out, just so it's fresh in my memory, because people talk to me about it. And also you do, when you listen to them back, because when we're engaged in it, in the conversation, you're not really, you're engaged and you're kind of active. You're not really listening. You are listening, but it's very different to listen to it maybe 2 or 3 weeks after it's been recorded, just quite passively and quite relaxed. It's quite good to listen, because I often pick up things that I may have missed the first time round.
Here's the thing. This is totally off topic, right? So there's no need to think about this too much, but the young'uns of today, right, the youth of today, I wonder what they think about all this, because I remember when I first heard my voice on a recording when I was like, I don't know, 15 or 16 or something like that. We didn't record anything when we were younger, did we? There wasn't the likes of things like this. We're older than the people. So the first time I actually heard my own voice outside my head I don't know, I would have been like 20 or something like that, possibly. I don't know. And it was horrible. Whereas now you hear it all the time, right? And people record themselves all the time and stuff like that. So I wonder if there's that thing when they first hear their own voice, or if it's just a natural thing.
Yeah. So Ollie, in terms of how many events did you do in Denmark? Was it 4?
Yeah, it was 4.
So yeah, talk us through, because obviously some people who listen to the podcast are quite into kettlebell sport, and they will have listened to previous episodes, like you said, with yourself, with Lauren Emery, with Hannah Camden, with various people, with Steve Cotter when we had him on and things. But some people are not have the experience or the breadth of experience or knowledge around kettlebells. So what were the 4 events that you did? And it would be quite interesting, because you mentioned that the quote from Paul, "The rising tide raises all ships." I mean, it'd be quite interesting how these 4 events either complement each other or don't complement each other, or if they're totally standalone, carryover effect. Yeah,
that's an interesting question, because I do think about this a lot. So the list that I did on the format changes a little bit, and you can, and I've learned it's very interesting to me when you're passionate about a sport, that I've been doing this internationally since 2012, and it's still, the mistakes you can make and things can still surprise you, because I had a real eye opener at this competition. So I did 2 half marathons, which are 30-minute lifts, and I did the half snatch, where I was actually in training. I was going to try and break the record for my weight group, which didn't happen, and I knew 5 minutes in it wasn't going to happen. And then I did the long cycle, which is probably my most confident lift, and I had a great lift with that. And then the next day we did both our World Game sets with not a lot of rest in between. And Luki is the Polish guy who was doing it, who trains at my gym, so I coach him. And he had a great set, and he through 2 years of real hard work really earned his medals there. He's a really hardworking, really coachable guy. It's been a pleasure to have him sort of in our kettlebell club. What I found in training, it's true, the rising tide raises all ships, but that's a general, not a specific. And if you're going to have that approach, you need to be very careful about whether it's rising you in a direction you want to be going. So it's a lovely quote, and there's a lot of rhyme and reason to it. Essentially, kettlebell sports comes down to 2 motions, there's only 2 range of motions, and that's where it's got a real simplistic beauty to it. You're either doing a pull motion with your whole body or your whole posterior chain, taking a snatch type motion over your head, or you're doing a push motion with your anterior chain, doing a push over your head. So anything that's going to get you stronger at pushing, anything that's going to get you stronger at pulling, is going to help you do that. Similarly, to strength conditioning with a kettlebell, which I'm still a massive fan of, I think it's probably one of the most versatile strength conditioning tools. If the sport you do in any way replicates a push or a pull, then pushing or pulling motions like jerks, clean and presses, and snatches and swings with a kettlebell will fundamentally improve that sporting performance, which, if you go all the way back to what Pebble was saying about the what the hell effect of a kettlebell swing, which is basically if you just get a heavy kettlebell swing and swing it heavy, that has been shown scientifically to improve your bench press, to improve your deadlift, to improve your sprint, your vertical jump, etc., etc. So in conditioning terms, it's probably a well-known phrase, this concept that the rising tide will raise all ships. The trouble with that comes to sporting performances. So I managed to walk away with a gold, which was my 10th gold medal, and then a silver, a bronze, and a 4th placing. And this was the highest attended IKMF certainly I've ever been to. So in some ways I did very, very well. But I came back feeling like I hadn't achieved what I wanted to achieve. And then I had a bit of time to think about it. And I had a conversation with one of the Scottish guys called Alan Lyon. And he basically told me off, which is quite funny, actually. So I'll get to that in a second. And I hope he listens to this, and I hope it makes him smile. And because he was right. I bit off way too much more than I could handle. And on paper, on my training sets, everything was gearing up to really go to plan. And then I made a mistake. Essentially, I wasn't confident with the handles. And then again, like I said, after 12 years, you can still make mistakes in the sport that can cost you big. So I went to Graham Morris, who's on the England team, is probably the best person to chalk a kettlebell, probably. And I never really chalk my bells. I don't really believe it, but I just got a little bit scared. It was quite humid. There wasn't a lot of air going around. The chalk wasn't amazing. So I wasn't confident chalking myself through the set. So I asked him to chalk the bell, which I don't do. And within 10 minutes, my hands were tearing. This was 10 minutes of my first set. So I still had 20 minutes of lifting to do with a 32 kilogram bell. Then half an hour that I was going to plan to do with a 36 kilogram bell. And the next day, 2 10-minute sets with a 40. And by the end of the first day, my hands were a mess. And the long cycle set the next day, I was only about 20 reps short of a PB. So I was like 70 reps. And I can, on a good day, I'm a 95, 96 rep lifter for it. But by the point that I just lost, the skin was gone. There was no feeling, like the nerves were just burned. And I kind of thought, I've trained all year. Me and Andreas Jacobin have been talking about doing this together. He's probably the guy I look up to the most in this sport, as kind of like a character and a lifter as well. Like it's a sporting version of being able to compete against and with your hero. So for me, I thought I'd rather go out in a ball of flames than not give it a go. Got the first rep up, and the pain was something that was pretty hard to once the skin's gone and it's on raw skin. I don't know if you guys have ever done snatch work or things like that when you tear your hands, but then with the weight of it being 40 kilograms and it was quite a rough bell, it was literally like trying to hold on to fire. It was the only way I can describe it. And there was
what was this lift with the 40? Was this
half? It was a half snatch.
So I
got through the long cycle fairly well. It was for half snatch.
Oh, so you did. So by this stage, you'd already done the 10-minute.
Yeah, it was
with the 40 kilo bell.
And I wanted
right. Okay.
Ideally, I was prepping myself. I trained myself for 100 reps, which would be Master of Sports World Class, and I got 5-10 reps in, and again, like that plan went out the window. But I just thought I need to make myself something to say I can win mentally. So I thought I'm going to keep going till the bell either flies out of my hand or I just black out. And I was kind of hoping one of them would happen first. But I got through the 10 minutes and it was good. It was really encouraging to get the praise I got for doing it. But the thing that I was getting to about looking back and feeling disappointed, or I got home and kind of got over myself, which you do have to spend a bit of time doing. And I was like, I've got some of my best friends in this sport who are just as good lifters as me, who haven't won one gold medal. So to have won your 10th and almost be in a mood with yourself is pretty, in my book, is pretty bratty and is pretty entitled. So I had to kind of have a word with myself. And it was Alan who actually pulled me aside and he said, in my view, you're one of the greatest lifters in this sport, which is a big praise coming from someone like Alan. And he said, but you're going to be remembered for being average, which isn't a big praise going for someone like him. And he said, it's because you go to these competitions and you take on these stupid tasks, of doing, most world championships I've gone to, I've done at least 3 lifts. And he said, don't quit. Come back next year and just do 2. Just do 2. And in the kettlebell community, there's certain people that like you always have respect for. And Alan Lyon was one of the guys that first taught me how to do pentathlon. So when he pulls you aside and tells you something, he's got a right for you to tell it, and it's coming from a good place. So I'm more than happy to listen. So I'm changing how I'm doing things. So in Poland, I'm just doing 1 lift. I've got my first RUKL comp this year, which is the Russian-based federation, which I'm just going to do 1 lift. And then back in November, to finish on the IKMF for the pentathlon and the marathons, I'm just going to do 2 lifts. And I hope he listens to this and kind of like holds me to it and messages me and say, I want to see your entry form, because I know that he'll be there. But it did change my perspective of kind of like why you feel like you deserve to win just because you've done it in the past, and how important is it that happens as opposed to being part of a phenomenal England team. And as you get older, it's also much more about sort of letting other people come in and learn from what you've done, because I am going to be on my last few years doing this. It's much better to go out with a bang, but also to be someone who kind of like goes on the podcasts, tells people about the sport, gets people involved in the sport, gets new people to come in. Because if we don't do that, this sport, which I've put a lot of time into, and it's very dear to me, and I'm very passionate about it. If we don't do that, we're going to let a really good thing in this country go by. In the sense that participation now is probably took us just 4 years now since lockdown, 5 years since lockdown. So it's taken us 5 years to just get the sport back to probably where it was in terms of active people going to competitions. The grassroots came back, and I'll be honest, I said some things about it when it first started out, but I didn't think it was going to be as successful. And we've got 40 lifters ready to go to Tonic Fitness this weekend for it. So it's definitely doing what it's meant to do, which is getting people into the sport. I still think that we need to have a massive drive to get younger people competing in the sport, which is something I'm going to be sort of very active in the next few years once I stop competing. The amount of attention that my daughter Poppy gets for the competitions that she does as she went to Denmark. And a big shout out to her because she won her first gold this time. So she's stuck with us. Yeah, stuck with the sport 3 years now, and she came through. But good to see her kind of like stick with it and decide that she wants to do it and wants to carry on doing it. So we're actually got our first this like class just for kids starting tonight at the gym. And we're booked through with that. A lot of that's down to Poppy and the attention that she gets for doing the sport. So that's something that's really worth doing. But yeah, if we don't get people to find out about this sport and have access to it, both online and also in bricks and mortar gyms, like Fitworks, like Komodo Temple, or like all of those places. We down in Swansea, there's a couple of gyms reopening. They used to have the boat shed, which was a big CrossFit place down there that I've done a lot of competitions at. If we get those places and we get people going to local competitions, then we can really turn a sport on a corner here and really make it something big in this country.
I was going to ask, Oli, what have you kind of analysed or thought deeply about why you, because it's really interesting what the gentleman, I think he said, Alan, said to you about you're one of the best lifters, but you'll be remembered as being average. Why you go for these? Why you go and do the 4 events in one? Is it more like is it like a mental toughness challenge for you? And what has caused you? Because like you say, most people will go and do 1, possibly 2, and you go and do 4. And like you say, it's a brutal sport, especially doing 2 half marathons and then 2 10-minute world game sets with a 40 kilo bell.
Yeah, I think Alan's gonna shake his head when he says it. If the first set had gone differently, that whole weekend could have gone differently, because I've set these targets up, and on in the right environment I could have pulled it off. And this is gonna sound again as philosophical, but just I'm a good enough lifter to have done it if the conditions were right. That doesn't necessarily mean it was a good idea to do it. And the reason why I've always historically done multiple lifts at competitions, mainly it's been from when I went to Detroit for my first competition. It was GS, so I flew all the way to Detroit to lift for 20 minutes. Now again, if you look at some sports, like say you're a 100-meter sprinter, Usain Bolt's famous thing that goes around on Facebook, I trained 9 years to run 9 seconds, was it? I trained 12 years to run 9 seconds. That's part and parcel of the sport. The sport lasts as long as it lasts. If you train or you train 4 months for a fight, you go in a fight and it goes out in the first round and you win by a TKO. You've trained 3 months solid for 2 minutes of a sport. So there's that inevitable nature to it. But my mindset's always been through experience. If you're going to go all out, You know, don't do it by halves. And the nature of my training and maybe the military background aspect of it has always been like, if you're going to do something, you got to be all in. Now you can take that in terms of quality, or you can take it in terms of quantity. And that's kind of where my mindset's going. Like, yeah, you want to get your money's worth, you want to get your travel's worth. And if you think you're good enough, by all means go and enter it. But the results do rule the roost. And in the competition in Hungary in November, I did the pentathlon, I did the double push press, and I did the marathon. And luckily, I went there. My main everything else was just the pentathlon was at the back burner. I just wanted to get a touchy feel for it before I can commit to it for this year round. But my goal was to do the hour with the 32 and be the first person to do it and to get the record for the most reps in an hour with a 32 kilogram to set it. And I prepped everything for it. And in that sense, even though my other two lifts were substandard, my intent was to go there and prove my statement with a 32 kilogram for the hour until someone else can do a clean and press for this whole hour with a 32 kilogram. That puts me at the top of the pile.
And did you do that?
Yeah,
you did the whole hour with the 32.
Yeah, it did. It went like a dream, to be perfectly honest. And again, I prepped for it, I planned for it, I programmed for it, I strength conditioned for it, and on the day, just the environment was right. My confidence. So I dropped the bells, which I never do on the doubles, and I haven't done doubles, so for the double push press. And it was brilliant to be next to Ali again and watch him smash it and smash out 90 odd reps with it. But that knocked my confidence a little bit, and I wasn't expecting to get a record set. It just threw my confidence a bit. So I used a pentathlon as a lesson to kind of like use it to just go light, convince yourself you're a good lifter, have a good set. Don't go for anything but a good set. And the next day I came back, hands were fine, body felt good, nothing was hurting, and it was one of the most fun sets I've ever done. Which again sounds a bit weird, but when you're pushing yourself to these limits and you're doing things people haven't done, or you're trying to break a record with something, when you have that focus and your body's under that level of stress, it becomes a little bit therapeutic. And I think certain people, you know, if you've done ultra marathons or Ironmans or things of a real equivalent intensity to this type of training and this type of performance, you do definitely, you're very, very focused on what you're doing. You're very, very in the moment. The only thing you're thinking of is your next rep, which is a massive running mindset. If you've ever done like real good distance running, you don't focus about what mile you're on or what miles have got to pass yet. You're just focusing on that step. So my mindset to that is very much for an hour, one more rep, and then make every rep a good rep. And you kind of have a very, very weird experience when you're doing it. It's very, very enjoyable. It's very, very addictive. If you want to call it a runner's high or whatever you want to call it scientifically, it becomes the closest thing that I kind of find to finding that real piece of kind of all there is me, the platform, and the kettlebell, and literally nothing else for that hour matters. That's all good when it's going your way. The 10 minutes of the 40 minutes dying, I was not in a spiritual. I was just in flat out hell. And luckily as well, like the people there saw it, and Dale Wilson got some great photos of it. I think he just captured physical pain in a photograph on my face. And it was even more good, and what's even more of a fact was we documented the whole year's worth of training. So there's been a film guy, and a big shout out to Avers and his company called Diamond Visuals. So he's been following myself and people at the gym for the entirety of the year, and he's filmed all the sets and he's filmed all the training. So you really get to see, as we're now in the editing phase, you really get to see a year-long journey that's meant to manifest in triumph, that goes as close as it can get and then fall short, which is actually kind of a really interesting thing to see. But it also shows the England team's journey, having won the belt the past 2 years, losing it to Hungary, and then being able to win it again. So I'm glad that it's documented, because I'm glad that it kind of shows how much work goes into this And then it's not actually guaranteed just because you've done the work, but you're going to get the result on the day. And that's one of the beauty of any sport. And that's why sports are such an important sort of like lesson in life and such an important mirror of life, in that you're not entitled to win just because you showed up. You're not entitled to win just because you did the work. You have to be able to perform it on the day. And it's good. I kind of philosophically now, having licked my wounds a bit, it's quite nice to take that lesson on board and kind of see what I can do at the next few competitions.
And still, I suppose you could do that training for the whole year. You could turn up on the day. You could do a lifetime sort of personal best, personal record. You could excel out of your skin. And someone else could just turn up and do a little bit better.
One more, yeah,
and one more rep, you know. So there's that. So just to go back, just because people who are listening might have it might have just brushed past them. The 1 hour set with the 32. It was was that a long cycle, sort of clean and jerk?
Clean and jerk, yeah, which is probably my as much as I enjoy the whole aspect of kettlebell training, it's certainly been the one I've found the easiest to get somewhere with. I probably prefer the half snatch as a plain motion because I think the sport's still fairly young, but I think my body type lends itself more to a pull motion than a push motion because I was that gangly middleweight fighter that was awkward to do because I'm all arms and legs. I'm very sort of short trunk, long arms, which makes pushing normally quite hard. So I didn't expect to find long cycle or jerk easy, as opposed to half snatch. But I've just done so many reps over the years of doing it, and I've done so many sets with 32 kilograms and heavy and 40 kilograms. That I've just found my own way of doing it, doing it for an hour again. Like I suppose to people who don't understand the sport as well, who are hearing it and they go and pick up a 32 kilogram, you might have a Jordan 32 with a nice greasy handle in the gym you train at, and you pick it up and then you fully grasp the concept of an hour of non-stop lifting with it. It can sound quite bizarre. But like anything, like if you're not a runner, the concept of running 26 miles sounds bizarre. And then people can go on and do marathon sets where they run a marathon every day for like a month or something. So it really is like the ability to do it. And what I did very well was, with a background in strength conditioning and a background in coaching, I had a perfect year of training for that. And just on the day, it went really well. I had just as good a year training with the 40, but because I made a mistake the day before, on the day it did not go well. And you kind of have to, again, that's one of the best things about sports. Like now I can look back and laugh over it. I think if you see the pictures, I was pretty devastated. Like Andreas had to literally pick me up off the platform. I was having a little tantrum on the floor. Like now I can look back over it. And that's one thing, it's one lesson actually that I do tell the people I coach, is that you want to care, you want to win, you want to train to win. When you don't perform how you think you should have performed, you've got a right to feel bad about it. You should do, because you want the athlete that cares. It's okay to get upset about it, but you do have to deal with it. And you do, and one of my biggest phrases that I hold myself to is, you do have to get over yourself. At the end of the day, it was just a lift. And yeah, it's unfortunate that bad set came in the time frame that it came at. I'd love for me to have had one of my training sets there in its place, but that's not the way it works. And the only thing you do is you kind of take it, you own it. And as I said, that was going to be my last year. I spoke to Andreas about it, and we've spoken a bit since. We're both planning on coming back and doing it again, but I will only come back for those specific lifts. And once they're done, they're ticked off the list and done. I still want a chance at breaking a record with the half marathon for half snatch, but that will have to wait the year after if I decide to come back then.
Funny, I was just thinking as you were talking there about you said I don't know, about half an hour ago now, that that 32 kilogram hour long set went like a dream. It was a nightmare to me, but anyway, like one of those dreams. But it's funny because Paul McElroy was talking about this on the weekend that we did with him, and he was talking about shoulder squats, right? Talking about if you've got a barbell on your back and you're doing squats, in between every squat, you're locked out and you're standing up.
I remember him. Yeah, I remember him saying that, and I remember like I almost remember where I was driving in Kent when I heard him say it. To be honest, one of those things, like, it made a lot of sense to me, and yeah, half the skill of kettlebells is the ability to rest under stress. So just like with a back squat, like particularly if you see a good person doing, and again, Charles Poliquin famously said, and so does Thomas Platz, that squats are for reps, not for weight, essentially. So your lower body.
That was the thing. You can always do one more rep.
You can always do one more rep. You might need to rest even longer there, but you do always need to do one more rep. The reason people don't, which is 100% right, is because squats hurt. If you're doing it right and you're doing it with weight, the idea of doing, when you get a decent set of weight on your back, as long as you're not injuring yourself, you can always do one more, but it's painful. And those, that's why I love. So I don't squat heavy anymore because I've had some back injuries. So I'll do heavy leg presses, but I will squat for reps and I'll squat for depth. So I'll work on really low back squats. So, no heavier than 60 kilograms. But I'll do a lot of stuff that Danisev does, where I'll do timed set squats. So I'll squat for a minute or squat for 2 minutes. But the 2 minute ones, you do look back and you can record it and watch it, and you can actually go, well, actually, I did stand there for a good 45 seconds if you add it all up. So the amount of reps you do aren't necessarily higher than a 15 or a 20 rep set. So there is that. But it's true. And you do, the better a kettlebell lifter you are, the longer you can lift for. And that 2 hour set that I did kind of proves that the essence of the sport is 10 minutes for GS if you're that Puritan. But if you can stand there and rest with the bell, and if you can master the art of relaxing under pain, which is a very tough thing to do, hence why back squats suck, but if you can master that, then you have a massive advantage in this sport because you can just rest. And I did it as a tactic in Northampton, where there's a few people who are kind of new to the scene. I kind of thought I want to see where I come against these new guys. So I just went out with a bit of a lead and then relaxed, and then just thought, I'm just going to slow down. And when the guy next to me lifts, I'm going to lift. And then they know that they can't ever overtake you because you're already ahead. And whenever they go, you can go. And I trained that, and I did that as a tactic for the first day with my half snatch. And as soon as I realized, because again, I had Al, who's the chess player guru of kettlebells, and you work out with what weight you're lifting opposed to what weight they're lifting, how far ahead or behind you are. And so my game plan was just to go off the back, get a lead, and then you can just relax, and you can just relax into the set, which was useful because as for chalk was making itself a problem, I didn't want to keep that pace up because it was doing more and more damage. So it was a big advantage to know you're ahead and then just rest in the rack and just relax as much as you can relax.
So we mentioned right near the start, this, I think it's the next competition you go to, you're going to be competing in a higher kind of weight class. Putting on, so because you normally, correct me if I'm wrong, you're normally in the kind of 75 to 85. Is that the kind of bracket? That's the bracket.
So you do intermittent fasting quite a lot, don't you? Because you on Facebook post breaking your fast. So me and you have very similar. So typically I walk. So I'm quite spoken about and quite well known for doing quite extreme cuts. Which again, when I used to do combat sports, I used to love being a heavier fighter cutting down. You always have more power. And I think that's very true. So I'm always in the habit of. I've been cutting for competitions really since I was like 16, 17, 18 years old. So I've got a lot of experience doing it. So I go from 92 kilograms as a top barrier. I never let myself go above 92 kilograms. And then I'll go all the way down to 83 kilograms to weigh in. I like to have you only have to be under 85, but you never know what scales are like. And you if you've cut and you've not made your cut, you've still cut, you're still dehydrated. So you need to rehydrate before you compete. So I like to have a real big buffer. So I like to know before I fly I'm at a minimum max of 84 kg. I'm now for the next competition, because it's WKSF, the weight groups are different. So my weight group's now 87. So I've got 2 or 3 kilograms to play with. So I'm going to have a much easier cut starting on Monday. So I'm also bulking because the next competition I would do is military snatch, which is a lovely competition, which is a 12-minute snatch with a 32. But you can change hands as much as you want, and then I'm really excited about that lift. I'm enjoying the training for it. I've got a great training partner in Lukey as well, and I can't wait to do it. But yeah, so
that's a full snatch, not a half snatch.
Full snatch, yeah, full snatch.
32 kilo snatch for 12 minutes. Change hands as often as you want.
As often as you want.
Obviously, you're not allowed to put the bell down at all.
No.
Okay, cool.
But the main thing for my weight, the main difference in my diet is just carbohydrates, and some of my training parameters will change a little bit. I like things like slow burning carbs. You can't build substantial amounts of muscle mass in short periods of time without having a good percentage of your diet coming from carbohydrates. It's pretty much impossible. You can, through keto and intermittent fasting, you can burn a lot of body fat and maintain your muscle mass, or put on small amounts of muscle mass. But I've never found a way to quote bulk up without having good slow burning carbs from grains, some forms of breads, rye breads, dark breads, some pasta, but I don't tend, because I don't have it a lot, it tends to make me bloat. But slow burning pasta is like a good source of it. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, and then when I go to cut, the first thing I do is I just take all of them out, and then I then just go extended periods up to 36 hours between meals, for the small time going towards my actual weigh-in, and then normally I'll just, the other thing that I'm a big fan of is I can't train unless I'm fasted. So I can only ever really eat after a workout. So I kind of, if I want to eat 3 times a day, I'm going to train 3 times a day. I normally do train at least twice a day. So yeah, and then sort of a week before I fly, I'll cut down to 1 meal a day, sauna religiously. And then before I fly, I'll do 24 hours before I fly, I don't eat anything, and then I'll just dehydrate, go straight land at the airport, and just go straight to the weigh-in.
Because I saw you were running this. I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday. You went out like 5 a.m. or something. So you run, and then you came back, and then I saw you were eating after your run, obviously. Yeah. You know, so yeah.
It's got me. I mean, it's one thing, like, social media is a very weird thing. It's a very weird thing to be a 40-year-old man and still be kind of like posting food that you eat on social media. But we all tend to do it. You know, I could go 2 ways. Like, it's nice. Like, if you're in a sporting community where you're competing internationally, and you've got people, you've got a national team. So the England team need to communicate. So we have a WhatsApp group and we have Facebook groups and stuff like that. But it's a lovely platform to be positive and to share things and share advice. I've learned a lot from lifters on social media. You can follow the great ones, you can ask them messages, so there's a real blessing to it. But then you are also like, am I really that guy that at 4:30 in the mornings taking a picture, and nobody knows if I went back to bed and went to sleep for 3 hours or not? It's just a picture. But no, the reason I ran this morning that early, I do like an early morning cardio session. I think it really fires you up for the day. So I will normally get up 4:30, or I'm gonna let a little call come through, sorry about that. I will normally get up around that time anyway. And again, there's some element of that is previous work experience, military life. You just wake up early. So my car had to go in for work, and he wanted to get it in early. So I said, all right, I'll get up early, drive it down to you, and then I've got to come back for the school run. So I'll get up at 4:30, drive down to the garage. It's like 5 miles, crack a 5-mile run, get back, and I've started my day. And then again, like, because I had a carb meal to have later, so I just thought I'd have my eggs and my sausages and my cheese and get my fats in me. And I do struggle. One warning, when people talk about carbs and keto, one thing people don't tell you is I can't really eat carbs that well anymore. They make me very lethargic, and that's from not eating them. So my body works with proteins and fats really well. I don't know. I used to really recommend high fat, low carb diets to people for weight loss and for fitness. I'm more hesitant to do it now because I can make myself really, like, I had just like yesterday I was eating like sourdough bread, and just that on its own just made me feel sluggish really for the past 48 hours, past 24 hours. Eating cheese, eggs and sausages today feel great.
That's interesting, because I'm like that with carbs. I don't have a very good tolerance for them at all. Bloated thing or anything, and they just I get spaced out. I go, is it hypoglycemic or whichever way, I can never remember. But I don't like, if I have like something heavy carb for breakfast, I'll be spaced out 2 hours later.
Or do you get that little sleepy bit like 2 in the afternoon on days that you have carbs?
So I don't do it anymore. I mean, when I used to work in an office, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'd just be after lunch, because I was just constantly eating carbs. And now I know a lot more about nutrition. I'm like, I'm the same as you. Fat and protein, I can deal with really well. Carbs, I can now deal with, as long as I have them with that, and then everything's okay. But this is good, because we're talking about food now, and you want to be a chef, right?
I was saying, I mean, what I really want to do is I want my actual training business to go online in the next kind of 18 months. I really want to have a video archive of not just Kettlebell Sports, but also strength conditioning programs, weight loss programs, turning a whole library of everything I've learned in a 20-year period as being a personal trainer. There for people to subscribe to and get it and go into. But one thing that I have another passion for is I don't feel like I miss out eating healthy. I feel like I have a much healthier, not healthy, but I feel like I have a much happier diet. I enjoy my meals. I enjoy my workouts. I enjoy prepping my meals. My Sunday therapy is making a roast dinner for my family, because I just love cooking food. If you can do that and also show people how to actually have healthy meals, it doesn't have to be as extreme as cutting for a competition, but just by being able to cook without adding processed foods, without having to add unusual amounts of sugar, and particularly refined sugar that's not natural, and without having cheap carbs in your diet, the amount of health benefits most people in this country would, if given the choice, would lose a little bit of weight. And ironically, most people in this country would lose that weight without a gym membership, without a personal trainer, without an online health coach, as much as I'm not knocking these industries, if they did 4 things. And those 4 things are: 1, eat less crap; 2, drink less alcohol; and if you're smoking, stop smoking; 3, cook like actual meals, which shockingly so many people don't do; and 4, any exercise you enjoy, exercise. The reason we have such a good industry that's so vibrant is people are so much happier with the concept of paying for a gym membership and a personal trainer if they are taking ownership and doing that themselves. But in reality, those are the 4 things people need to do. And so if I've killed the fitness industry in 4 steps, to my apologies. but it's true. Like
I was talking to somebody about this today, one of my online guys, and I've got like a mindset group with them as well. And we were talking about this because he's trying to lose weight. And he's not necessarily struggling, but every now and then he'll be like, "Oh, I kind of fell off a little bit." And I'm like, "Okay, but as long as you're getting back on it, and it's most of the time you're on it." But then this was the other day when there's that new drug, isn't there, with the fat loss drug?
Yeah, the Ozempic, yeah.
You've seen this, and they're going on about how it's the next big thing after, like, it's going to be as big as statins, and it's like, bloody hell, they're like, it's what are we doing here?
Yeah, how many people do you know who are on statins are healthy?
Exactly. No, but this is the thing. I mean, exactly what you just said there.
Yeah,
would mean that drug.
Here's a different.
And all these people, like Elon Musk, used it and said it's great, and all of this. Well, he's not necessarily the healthiest man in the world. You know what I mean?
But if you look at this concept, because it's weight is a byproduct of the abuse you put your body through calories. But unfortunately for things the pill's not going to do, talk about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now that can manifest no matter what your BMI is. If you had a pill that you could take on a night out, that would mean you would never have a hangover in the morning no matter what you drank. You would first off think, this is amazing, I can drink what I want and I'm not going to have a hangover. Now the hangover is the symptom of how much alcohol you drink, right? The damage you're doing to your body isn't visual. If you woke up the next day, your eyes weren't bloodshot, your breath didn't stink, and you didn't look like a walking zombie, you looked fine, you'd be so much more inclined to carry on with that lifestyle. And then the effect's going to creep up. If you give people a pill that says, don't take any responsibility for your body, which is such a sign of the world we live in today. Don't take any ownership of your health. Don't take any responsibility for your body. Eat whatever you want. Take this pill and a weight will fall off. The damage you're still going to do to your body is going to skyrocket. And all the problems that come with obesity that aren't related to your actual BMI are still going to exist. You're just going to have skinny people having all the ill health effects that people who are overweight have. And if society needs to have that hit in the face and then wonder why they're still having heart attacks at the age of 40, then sorry to sound like James Smith, but maybe that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I'm not an advocate for that. Fortunately for the fitness industry, I wouldn't think it's going to put gyms out of business. I wouldn't think it's going to put concepts of you've got a mindfulness group, you've got a community. You don't get communities through swallowing a pill. So I don't think it's going to, as much as the NHS might want to push it, and as much as people who are getting paid to push it might want to endorse it, I think it's going to very quickly be seen for what it is, which is just diverting short term from the most obvious consequence of an unhealthy lifestyle.
Thing is, it's a very, this is what gets me. It's very simple. You take a pill, you lose weight, right?
Yeah.
What's also very simple is you drink more water, you go for a walk, you eat better food, you lose weight. But people don't listen to that. They don't go that. They'll go, that's too easy. That is too simple. It needs to be complicated. It's like, but you're happy taking a pill, which is even easier.
It's that famous thing of you can't see the wood through the trees.
Yeah.
People that are in shape aren't doing anything of people who aren't in shape don't know to do. The key component of it is just discipline, just having the discipline, which people hate to hear, because nobody who's out of shape wants to be told it's because they're not disciplined, because we see it as such a negative thing. You see it as such an insult. In reality, very few people in this world are disciplined. So not being disciplined doesn't make you worse than somebody else. It just makes you in the majority. It's the minority of people who actually have the discipline to push themselves to do things.
With that, it's kind of nuanced, isn't it? It depends how you define discipline, because the discipline and the consistency to be healthy is the thing. Because you just need the flip side of the consistency of doing something that gets you to where you are healthy.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it's easier to do the opposite and have the consistency in that, isn't it? Because you don't have to think about it at all. And you don't have to worry about it. You can just fall into that position. It's really... Yeah. What have you got boiling behind you, by the way, over there? You were talking about...
I have. Yeah, so that is... Right, so just so people can get a good laugh out of me, this is my second slow cooker that I've had since Christmas. So I'm so gangster that for Christmas I asked for a slow cooker, which is a sign of turning 40. And then I managed to blow my slow cooker up. So that's now my second slow cooker.
Put on too fast.
No, I had it. I had it on my hob, and I turned the hob on. I turned the wrong hob on, and I basically cooked my slow cooker. So I basically fried my slow cooker. So I had to, and then I was doing before I went to Denmark. I have a set meal that I have as a treat. So my last meal, I wanted to make a slow cooked goat curry, which is like a Jamaican recipe. I just make it without the potatoes. And it's one of my favorite recipes. So I went and got a slow cooker just to cook it for that. So now I've got my slow cooker back, and what's in that now is a bone broth that I'm making, and it's been about 2 days in, so it's pretty much ready. And then my Labrador will enjoy liver and bone broth later on.
Oh, hey, I'll tell you, because I make bone broth as well, right? And he gets like like any of the bone marrow that's like left inside, I'll scoop it out, and he gets that. He gets the carrots as well because the taste. There's celery in there, anything that's not onion in there. But how easy? So obviously, people talk about they haven't got time to do things like this. How long does it take you, apart from the day of cooking it or the day of simmering it? You don't have to do it; it just sits.
You're not there for that, yeah.
How long does it take to prepare bone broth?
Well, it's an ongoing cycle for me because I use a broth to make a broth sometimes. So basically, the ingredients to a bone broth are the carcass of whatever animal you've been cooking. So you do a Sunday roast or whatever, or you go and you get bones from the butcher. So you need a decent quantity of bone. Ones with marrow, you can go to Morrison's and get bone marrow. You can buy it for like $2.99, right? You throw that in, whatever you want to add to it. Like you said, celery, carrot, that's a given. I'll put a red onion in there. I'll put half a bit of wine in there, maybe like half a glass of red wine. Yeah. And that's it. That's it. So
I put in like sliced ginger and then turmeric.
Yeah, turmeric's a good one to put in there. Yeah.
Apple cider vinegar. Apparently, apple cider vinegar gets the mineral
breaks the bone down. Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. I just put it in anyway. It's nice.
Yeah, you can put whatever. Essentially, if it can break down and has a water content to it, you can broth pretty much anything. But I like having a mix of vegetables. I like having a mix of bones in there. Chicken tastes okay. I eat a lot of lamb. I eat a lot of beef. So I end up with I eat a lot of rib. So I end up with a lot of ribs, end up with a lot of bone marrow, end up with a lot of like knuckle, like a lamb knuckle from like a lamb leg joint. And they make really good broths.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's literally putting water in a pan, chucking the bones in, vegetables, and it takes like 5 minutes.
It's another funny running joke in my gym because my Labrador eats basically what I eat. So majority of the time I'm on pretty much a carnivore diet, and my dog pretty much eats what I eat. And every time I take it to the vets, you go to a commercial vet, and I'm not going to say which way, but you go to a commercial vet, you always have a different veterinary nurse every time. So Raven's like coming up to being 2 years old now. Every time I've been in with the vets for all the checkups, they've gone, "Oh, her coat's really, really healthy. What do you feed her?" And I go, "Well, she basically eats meat the same as me." And they go, "Oh, that's really, really bad. It's the worst thing for her." I'm like, "But you just said she's the most healthy pup you've ever seen." Yeah. And this has happened for 2 years now. And the amount of people that go, "How do you get her coat so glossy? What do you wash it with?" I'm like, water. And I go, "How is it?" And like her teeth are like pearly white. She doesn't have any sugar in her diet. She's the only lab I know that isn't overweight. And a large part of it is she just eats basically bone broth and meat.
We get that. My dog Sid, right? Glossy coat and all that. He's the shiniest dog in the world, apparently, and all that. And I walk past people in the street and you hear them go, "Oh, that's what I don't know, Benji should look like."
Yeah. And I bet as well.
Someone else's dog who's got a fat dog and they'll go, "It should look like that."
The one side of that there is though, I know she's a pup, but she's got so much energy because again, there's nothing making her lethargic, there's nothing slowing her down, so she can bounce around all day.
As we start to close on it, I think it's kind of funny because it's kind of similar. Probably if you walk down the street, someone would say, "You look very healthy and fit. What do you eat?" And you'd say, "I eat mainly meat." "Oh, that's terrible for you."
Yeah. I mean, I don't get stuck like that. I mean, I guess, I don't know. People used to say that I don't look my age. So I don't know if I look 41 years old or not. I don't know, like that's for people to tell. I have habits that are bad that I know that I do that I shouldn't do. Like I still have alcohol in my diet that I probably shouldn't have as much of. But like with a diet with Leo, I'm at the age of 40 to 41. I can get up at 4 in the morning, do a 5-mile run, navigate my way through getting 2 kids to school, go to work, come back from work, pick the kids up, go and train, and then sort of try and get some business stuff done till 10, 11 at night. And again, like I said at the start, my body does feel the aches and pains at an older age. I am ready to retire from competing at this sport in the near future at some point. But diet's one of the things that's done me a world of favor. And again, with social media now, I think there's a lot more. Actually, you have to filter through the crap with it, like you say, filter through the jargon as your tag. But more and more people are coming akin to the fact that high fat, high meat diets are actually a lot healthier than people think. And it's now being linked to helping autoimmune disease. It's now being linked to so many major benefits from it. You could quite happily like go long periods of your life only eating red meat. And you like people will hear this and go, oh, the mineral deficiency, like go and read it. Like, these diets started as medical diets. They started being given to people as a reason. Everybody who's done 3 weeks of essentially water and red meat, particularly kind of rarer cuts of red meat, your muscle mass goes up, your body fat goes down, your sleep improves, and your health gets better. And I can't think of more reasons like to go into that. And if you go to the other end, and you go to the opposite end, and again, this may become controversial, but a lot of people start vegan diets and have to stop for health reasons. And you can see it because there's a lot of celebrities that virtually signal that they're on a vegan diet because apparently it means they're saving the world by killing more animals by eating vegetables than if you just eat and raise animals. But the amount of them that then stop a vegan diet because they have health issues, and I'm not invested in it. I don't like a lot of people with their diets and things, you get sponsored and you make money, but no one pays me to kind of say it. And I don't care. I have a lot of clients who all their weight loss comes from a calorie deficit, and they create a 200 calorie deficit with an exercise program, and they lose about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week. And that's perfect. That's ideal. You can do that eating Walker's crisps if you want. You can do that with all the bread you want. You might then not realize that it takes 3 weeks to go without it to realize how much better you do feel, but you can be in shape without doing it the way I do it. This has just worked really well for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. I mean, that's just and like you say, there's so many options out there for people nowadays, and really the thing is to, certainly from our point of view on this podcast, is along with training, you find what you mentioned it earlier when you said about the 4 things that would change the health of the nation.
Yeah.
Find a form of exercise that you enjoy and you like and that you can do consistently,
Yeah.
And if you find a diet that works for you and you can do consistently and you enjoy it and you don't feel like you're starving yourself, then that's fantastic. Honestly, Oli, that's been amazing. I know we've got to go because you've got the school run to do in a second.
I've got that school run, and I think the gods have blessed me by stopping it rain, so I'm gonna get a miracle walk in there and not get wet.
Excellent.
Always been a pleasure.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. And just in case people didn't listen the last time and they don't follow you already, what's the best platform for you where you're most active for people to follow you?
The platforms I said this last time as my closing thing. So you can follow Wolfpack Fitness Cheshire on Instagram. You can follow Wolfpack Fitness Cheshire on Facebook. You can now follow me on Facebook, Oli Mell on Facebook. And please, if you do listen to this, follow the EKA. Follow the EKA on Instagram. Follow the EKA on Facebook. That's the English Kettlebell Association. Follow the IKMF, the International Kettlebell Marathon Federation. Follow the WKSF, the World Kettlebell Sports Federation, and follow the IUKL. It's really, really important for me, as I'm the sports development officer for the English Kettlebell Association. And what's really, really important for me is I get people to try the sport and get the next generation of people, certainly nationally, to fall in love with whatever type of kettlebell sport they get into. Because again, there's different sort of avenues for it. But by all means, follow me. But please, more importantly, if you hear this and you like this, follow the England Kettlebell Association, because we need people to come into the sport, or tragically, it's going to get lost as people my age start to drop and fall by the wayside.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Oli. I will let you leave and go, and then I'll wrap up afterwards because I know you've got to go and do the school run. Have you got to shoot off right now, or are you okay for a minute?
Well, if I leave my kids any much longer at that school, they'll probably set it on fire. What time are we at?
Okay, brilliant, Oli.
Yeah, no, I need to run off.
Yeah, Poppy's pretty nails by the sounds of it, so you don't want to be late.
No, she'll knock me flat out. All right, okay. Cheers, guys.
Brilliant. Cheers, Oli. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. See you later. Excellent. So thank you so much. Oli has just gone to do the school run. That was really interesting, wasn't it, Pete? That was
great. Yeah.
Covered a lot of ground there with lots of different things. And next week, we are going to be joined by Alex Nicole Bennett on the next episode. What are you looking like that for?
Did you just do something there?
No.
There's a thumbs up just come on up on the screen.
Oh, I think maybe Oli just pressed it maybe as he left. I don't know. Oh.
No, you've done it again.
Yeah, I can see that. I've not done that. It wasn't doing it earlier.
On YouTube, I've got no idea what's going on.
It must be to do with my new upgrade on the other.
I bet it is. I bet you've got some sort of AI on your thing now. For the benefit of the listener,
if I say a certain word, it's going to put a thumb up. I don't know.
Yeah, James has like upgraded his software on his computer today somehow.
Do me. So yeah, next week we're going to be joined by Alex Nicole Bennett, who is SFG level 1, SFG 2. She is also a kind of new to strongwoman competitions. She's won her first novice comp, won her first intermediate comp as well. So Alex will be with us next week. And then we will please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so. And if you can, certainly on Apple Podcasts, leave us a review on there, and then we will get we will read that out on air next time. So any final thoughts, Pete, or should we wrap up?
No, I'm hungry now after all that all that talking about food, so I'm gonna go and eat.
You're gonna go. Have you got a bone broth on, or are you gonna go and?
No, I've got it. Like what I do, right, when I make it is I obviously dish it all out, but I put it into two. I just drink it. I don't use it to make food or anything. I just drink it. But I put it into two tubs, and I put one in the freezer and one in the fridge. So I've got half of one of those tubs left. So I'll be making some next week because I just get bone marrow from the butchers, and it's like the proper bones. The funny thing is, though, a couple of weeks ago I got some, and one of them was too big, and I couldn't get it in. I've got a massive
big pan, big
thing,
and
it wouldn't fit in, so I had it outside, and I was trying to sort it in half. Right, they're pretty dense, these buns, and I spent ages trying to sort it in half, and it wouldn't work. So I just had to stand it up and not put the lid on. Open it up with water, like in the thing. But yeah, it was that was interesting. Anyway, we got there.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, this weekend I am off to the SFG2 up in Middlesbrough with Gemma Wesson, and like you mentioned, Jed and lots of other people are going to be there. So that's going to be a good weekend. And then we will catch up with you next week for episode 197 with Alex and Nicole Bennett, and we've got some other great guests lined up, including another visit from Mark Rifkind, and another visit from Alison Young as well, who just won the Global Tactical Strength Challenge again, this time for the second time in a row. So Alison will be back with us in a couple of episodes' time. So until then, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.